Islam, Salam, Hetepu, Rahubat, Jinolako Nani, Chief Noble Bandele, back in the building for another video. Today's video, we're going to be dealing with the jurisdiction of religion. Religion as a status. Okay. So, y'all keep that in mind. Before we get into the video, though, I want you to check out a few things. Please check out indigenousmoors.org. It's going to be the one-stop shop for your Moorish needs. This is the new site. The other site went down, so this is the new site. But like I said, check it out. It's got the products. It's got the library. All right. Let's get to it real quick. The law library. So it's got like all the treaties, the legal literature, how to register your car, immunization papers, all that's on here. So please check out the indigenousmoors.org, and please check out all the books by me, by Dele El-Amin. I got several books. My latest book is, I'm going to get to that, but you can check out all my books. The Canaanite Connection, The Guide to Religious Marriage. Everybody need the Holy Ancestral Covenant. That's our religious book for the temple. It's a book for the ancestors. Okay. So please go check that book out. But the latest book is the Navigating Melanated Love and Relationships in the Modern Era. So please go check that book out. I've got a lot of influence from our greatest minds of the 20th century and whatnot. So, from Malcolm X to, like we said, Francis Quest Welsing, or even some things from Steve Harvey, So, it's got a little bit for everybody in their understanding of love and how it was blended together. So please go check out the new book, right? So now we got this out the way. Let's get into the video. Today's video, we're going to be dealing with, like I said, the religious jurisdiction, the religious status. Okay. What we've talked about religion all the time. We talk about religion, and we talk about the exemptions you get from religious affiliation, from having a religious organization or church. So what we're going to do today is we're going to break down about religion. Like, why is religion a status? Why do we get exemption from religion? Most people know there's freedom of religion, right? And that's the extent of it. They know that the First Amendment is about freedom of religion. So let's look at first, before we get all into it, let's actually look at the First Amendment. Okay. The First Amendment, it says Congress shall make no law respecting or establishing of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Okay. Or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peacefully to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. So, the first thing is, the First Amendment is not just about religion, right? As you can see, it's the first part of the amendment, because you're dealing with you're dealing with the government having no right over your religious belief. So let's look at that, right? Because it says Congress shall make no law. So first of all, it's saying Congress, which is the governing body in the Constitution. Okay. It is the Congress has the right to, make law, right? But Congress can't make a law respecting the establishment of religion. So why is that? It's because religion is a separate jurisdiction. So when they say separation between church and state, that's what they mean. They're saying that you are in a different jurisdiction when you're dealing with religion. Okay. That's why it's so important. That's why they took it away. They made you give up your religion for the government. So you voluntarily started to take on the government's contracts instead of contracting with your religious institution. All right. So, uh, so it says no law respecting the establishment of a religion. It says or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Okay. So the government um, can't prohibit your use of religion. Your free exercise. You have free exercise to practice a religion. Okay. Then it goes into or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, the right of the people to peacefully assemble. So even these things are not necessarily religion, but they do play a part with your religious rights because um, the right of people to peacefully to assemble. Okay, and so a lot of times when you go to church, people come together. That's kind of that's kind of an assembly. Okay, now I know they mean like if a lot of people interpret it like we have the right to get together and peacefully protest, in a sense, right? Or peacefully come together without without police interfering. That's true, but it also you got the right to assemble in your religious state to practice your religion. So you're assembling in other ways. So I mean, like this, that symbol has a double meaning behind it. Okay, and then it says, and to petition the government for redress of grievances, which is going to be important. Now I can't get all into that tonight, but just take a mental note and do some study and research for yourself on redress. What is redress? Okay, so uh, to keep going, right? To keep moving forward. Now that you understand the First Amendment in that way, let's look a little bit more into First Amendment and religion. So, we're going to really just look at the religious part of that. It says that the First Amendment has two provisions concerning religion. You got the Establishment Clause and the Free Exercise Clause. Okay. The Establishment Clause prohibits the government. Listen to what it's saying. The Establishment Clause prohibits the government from establishing a religion. The government cannot establish a religion. But now, what the crazy thing about it is, when you look at how the government is set up, it very much mimics religion. Like um, judges, for example, government, the aspect of judicial. You look at, you've heard this before, I'm sure, but to reassert it, the judges are dressed in black in robes. Very symbolic, very much like a priest would. If you look at a Catholic priest wears all black. So, we know that Christianity and we know Catholicism played a very important part in European history, which in return played a part in American history. Okay, so there's not a coincidence in that. So it says that the prohibits from establishing a religion. The precise definition of establishment is unclear. Okay, saying it's vague. Historically, it meant prohibiting state-funded, state-sponsored churches, such as the Church of England. Okay, so they're they don't prohibit religion, and they can't really get involved with religion. So, it's saying that they can't promote or sponsor churches, right? That's kind of where it came from. Now it says today what constitutes the establishment of religion is often governed through a three-part test. So we'll have to get into that, right? But there is a test, like so. If you're using religion in court, that would be something that you would look at. You would have to look at the test on what is the criteria for a religion, right? So we might try to double back on that, right? I just kind of want to get through this though for y'all. It says that the free exercise clause protects citizen rights to practice their religion as they please. Okay? It says that so long as the practice does not run afoul of a public morals or compelling government interest. Okay? So for instance, Prince versus Massachusetts, the Supreme Court held that a state could force the inoculation of children whose parents would not allow such action for religious reasons. The court held that the state had the overriding interest in protecting public health and safety. So this is important because there there is a boundary, if you will, where the state will not allow religion to take over, or not take over, but it won't allow your religious right. You're not your free exercise has limitations. Okay, that's basically what we're saying. So, uh, and so one of the things is in the interest of public safety. So, when you arguing something, you definitely have to argue that this is not overriding the interest of public safety, right? So, if you are trying to get an inoculation, you would have to be able to show that your religion would basically be able to prohibit that particular disease from spreading. Like if it was like they had COVID, if and COVID did violate a lot of, well, not a lot, but it did violate some religious rights. Okay, but the argument would have to be, is my religious community strong enough to control and maintain, or stop the spread of something, or of a disease, right? If you had that power, then it may be similar to like Amish. Amish have more control through their religion based on their ability to be sovereign of themselves. So it goes back to your sovereignty, your ability to take care of yourself and be able to protect the family and others against certain things. Okay, so I'm just making that clear. So when we looking at the free, not the free exercise, but the establishment clause, sometimes establishment clause and the free exercise clause can come into conflict. Okay, it says right here that the federal courts help to resolve these conflicts, with the Supreme Court being the ultimate arbiter. Okay, so I want to look a little bit further on establishment clause. Okay, so we can understand this, because, like I said, as Moors, whether you are Moor through the temple, Moor Science Temple, or if you're Moor through other means, right? We our primary protection is religion. So when it says that the First Amendment Establishment Clause prohibits the government from making any law respecting an establishment of religion, it says that this clause not only forbids government from establishing an official religion, but prohibits the government actions that unduly favor one religion over another. So this is another aspect, especially with us Moors, especially us that practice indigenous spiritual practices, religion. Going back to a creed of our forefathers, meaning that we honor our ancestors. Okay, so dealing on that level, it's saying that uh, the clause not only forbids government from establishing, but it for favoring one religion over another. So, a lot of times, because we live in times where there is racism going on, and because of racism, uh, and the fact that America is a dominant Abrahamic religion in Christianity, right? So, a lot of times, if you're not Christian, you're shunned, in the community. So if you've got like a more science temple, even, or even like how we have our indigenous spiritual practices, our religion, these things look somewhat foreign to Christians or other people in America, and because of that, there may be discrimination against you because you're practicing something that's not normal, to them in their environment. So that's when you have to do a civil suit. Like, you have to do a suit. You would have to sue the government for allowing these things to happen. If the government, like for example, the government cannot give a Catholic church or a Christian church certain rights and allow them to practice and do certain things in their church, but then will not allow you to do it as a Moor or a Muslim or as an indigenous animist, voodoo or whatever. Like, if the government prohibits you from doing that versus another, religion or church, then that's a violation of the First Amendment. Okay, so understand that. So it says that it also prohibits the government from unduly preferring religion over non-religion, or non-religion over religion. So it's got, like, the government has to be very careful when it deals with religion. Like, you have to have kid gloves on when you dealing with religion. And if you notice, though, people, when you speak and say that they violated your religious rights, people would tend to be quiet and shut down because they really don't know how to deal with your religion, because it can be vague. They don't know your religion, so they don't know if they're, disrespecting you or not, because they don't know. You see what I'm saying? I mean, like, they could move your shrine from an area. That's a violation. That's disrespect. Not knowingly. You got a lot, like I said, you got a lot of people who are Christian and whatnot who don't even understand certain things about any other religion. So they'll see something that you might have put somewhere and they'll think it's evil or, satanic to them. Everything is, demonic. So they might take your shrine and dismantle it, or um, not accepting your paperwork. So, for example, this goes real good with establishment clause. Like, if you got religious documents and you're trying to use them, like, if you're at the Social Security office and they won't take your religious documents, right? And but they take uh, baptismal, and a baptismal is a Christian document. So they'll take that document, but they won't take yours. That's a violation of the establishment clause. So if that happens to you, and if they're not allowing you to get, if they're rejecting your religious paperwork, you should say that you're violating the First Amendment, the establishment clause. So it's very important for you to understand that clause, because it prohibits the government or government agencies from looking at your religion different than another religion or a non-religion over your religion. Okay, so it says although some government actions implicating religion is permissible and indeed unavoidable, it is not clear just how much the Establishment Clause tolerates. So it's no. So this is argument. This is an argument because they're leaving it open. They're leaving it open for argument. It says in the past, the Supreme Court has permitted religious invocations to open legislative sessions. Public funds to be used for private religious school busing, and textbook, and university funds to be used to print and publish student religious groups publications. So the government has helped, you know, or permitted religions to do certain things. I don't like to say permitted because, like we said, there's a difference between religion and state. So, you know, it's a tight rope for them. It's a tight rope for the government. Now it says that and textbook blah blah blah. It says conversely, the court has ruled against some overtly religious displays at the courthouse. State funding supplementing teacher salaries at religious schools, and some overly religious holiday decorations on public land. So these are some of the issues that you'll find. Um, it says that at one point of contention regarding the Establishment Clause is how to frame government actions that implicate religion. So it's saying framing questions often arise in the context of permanent religious monuments on public land. Although it is reasonably clear that cities cannot install new religious monuments, there is a fierce debate over whether existing monuments should be removed. When the Supreme Court considered this, okay, it did not articulate a clear general standard for deciding these types of cases. So it's still open. It's still an open it's still too broad, right? It says that the court revisited this issue, a case which considered the constitutionality of a large white Christian cross erected by the members of the veterans of foreign wars on federal land. While 5 justices concluded that the federal judge erred in barring a congressionally ordered land transfer, which would place the memorial on private land, there is no majority reasoning as to why. 3 justices held that the goal of avoiding governmental endorsement of religions does not require the destruction of religious symbols in the private realm. While Judge Scalia, the Justice Thomas, and Justice Thomas, Justice Scalia, Scalia and Justice Thomas concluded that the plaintiff lacked standing to bring this complaint. All right. So let's look at this. It's saying that the 5 justices concluded that the federal judge erred in barring a congressionally ordered land transfer and place it on private land. So there's a problem with private and public. Religion is separate from the state. So public land would be government in the eyes of the government. It would be their land in the eyes of government. So public land would not, necessarily. There's going to be a conflict with religion because they're two different jurisdictions. So is it? So the state is like, man, we shouldn't have these religious relics on our land. We might have to get rid of them, but we don't want to. But they still had to argue it out because it wasn't clear cut. Because the power of religion is so strong, y'all. The power of religion is strong. So we've looked at the establishment clause. You guys hopefully understand that you can use the establishment clause in the First Amendment to, make people accept your documents, your religious documents. Okay, so let's look at what's this? Congressional findings and declaration. Okay, so we're going to look at Code 2000 BB in the USC 42 USC. I think that we touched on this one time on one of our older videos dealing with Social Security and religion. We kind of touched on it, but I want to go back at this because we're going to look at it. All right, so it said the Congress finds that the framers of the Constitution, recognizing free exercise of religion, as an unalienable right. So what does they mean by unalienable? Unalienable right. They're saying that this right of religion is unalienable. Unalienable. That means that you cannot lean on it. You cannot put a lien. You cannot put a look. You can't put a lien, right, on your religious freedom. Now it says that this unalienable, okay, unalienable, not unalienable. We know that that's what that is. Before y'all come up in the box, saying I can't say the word. It's unalienable, but it's unalienable, right? Secured its protection in the First Amendment of the Constitution. It says that laws neutral toward religion may burden religious exercise as surely as laws intended to interfere with religious exercise. Any neutral toward religion may burden religious exercise. Governments, let's go. Okay, so governments should not substantially burden religious exercise without compelling justification. So they're going to need a hell of a good reason, basically, for them to burden your religious right. Okay, which, like we talked about on the video before, that Social Security, if you're in a religious organization and you're trying to get like food stamps, if you're trying to get some kind of government assistance in some fashion, but you don't have a social security number, or your baby doesn't, then that's when the burden of religious exercise without compelling justification might come into play, because they can say, hey, we need you to have a social security number. You cannot have this benefit without a social security number, and we will show uh, compelling justification. Okay, so you gotta be ready for that. Like we said, go back and watch the video. I'll try to put it up. I'll try to put it up in the comments or in the description. All right. So it says in employment division versus Smith, the Supreme Court virtually eliminated the requirement that the government justifies burden on religious exercise imposed by laws neutral toward religion. Okay? virtually eliminated the requirement that the government justifies burden. And the compelling interest test as set forth in prior federal court rulings is a workable test for striking sensible balance between religious liberty and competing prior governmental interests. So these are some of the guidelines on the government and how they deal with religion. The compelling interest test. So we're going to have to look at that at some point, okay? But this is kind of your homework. Look up compelling interest tests because these are what you'll have to look at if you're making an argument against the federal government. You're going to have to, deal with the compelling interest test. So please look at that. It says purpose. The purpose of this chapter are to restore the compelling interest test as set forth. Okay. So that really is the gist of it. So basically, when y'all are looking at religion, you guys really need to look at the First Amendment and how it applies, and understand that that First Amendment is showing you that they're virtually another jurisdiction. So, like when you are under your religion is a status. So when you're saying you're a Moor, you're not saying it all from a nationality perspective. I mean, you're looking at it also as a religious perspective. Like if you look at Jews, you got I use Jews as the example a lot, because you can have a Jew who doesn't practice Judaism, right? But by bloodline, they still Jewish, right? They'll have characteristics, features that are of a Jew today. I'm not gonna get into the whole, fake Jew or whatnot. What we're talking about is the typical Jews that we see, the Ashkenazi Jews, whatever they are, the ones that are not necessarily real Jews, but they've adopted the Jewish lifestyle to a point, to they're actually being considered, they're actually recognized as Jews. Okay, those people have religion and ethnicity as two different things. But a Jew go in there as under his religious faith versus just going there as a Jew. That's what we tend to do. We go in there as a Moor only on the civic side, but not bringing in the religious side. Okay. So it's important for you to bring that religious side in. Okay. It's good for you to, because if you bring the religious side, you're going to have certain exemptions that you didn't have. It's going to put you in another status. Okay, so that's the thing. A religious class is a protected class. They religious people are a protected class of people. Okay? So it is important for you to understand that. And that's kind of what we're doing here at the Temple of New Kemet. You're coming in and you're under a religious protection. So that, like I said, is important. It's important for us to come together under a common understanding and a common um, community. It's a community, a common unity. So it's important for us to come together in the community and stand with each other under our religious protection through the First Amendment and through the Establishment Clause. Okay, so that's really all I wanted to get into tonight. I hope this gives you some understanding. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel. Please share this video with your friends and family so that we can, grow the channel and continue to bring you this fire info. So that's really all I got to say on this tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed it. and I will catch you on the next video. Until then, Tuta Nana. Salama. Peace.